So.
Yes.
Yep.
How you doing?
Welcome. I'm Jeff.
Hi, I'm Brenna.
Hello, Brenna. Hello. Okay, there you go. Good. Come on, you guys come on. And what's your name again?
Daniel.
Daniel, Brenna.
Yes.
This is Sye. I'm Jeff.
How you doing?
So if you get like a little closer, we're going to go into this mic here.
Okay.
So women's rights. We're actually holding a conference next week, and so we wanted to talk to ASU college students.
Okay.
What's
About
that?
Okay.
We'll just
Semi.
go
So like stand here.
Yeah.
Like I'm back here.
Really famous.
Okay.
We'll be famous.
Is that better? You want me to stand over there? Okay. There? Sye is there? Okay, good. Okay, we're good? Yeah. Set, okay. Daniel, Brenna. Okay, so we're holding a conference next week, and want to talk to ASU students about what you're taught, what you believe about women's rights, and so obviously the centerpiece of that big question, big in the last election especially, is women's rights for abortion.
Okay.
So, you guys are ASU students walking around?
Yeah.
What's your perspective?
Well, as a woman, I definitely believe you should have the right to make choices about your body.
Okay.
Just 100% believe that.
Okay.
I took a women's studies class too, and there's a lot of like talk about what what is okay to say about a woman and stuff, and I think it's all about context too when you're saying certain things to women. I believe how someone takes it, like information into as a woman, but in all honesty, I think everyone deserves equal rights, but
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Everyone deserves equal rights.
Yeah.
100% agree. Daniel, how do you feel about it?
About the abortion issue. I would say it's more of like a pragmatic deal.
Okay.
You know, like to outlaw it would cause a lot of people to resort to like either having a child that they don't want or can't support or both, and it would also cause people to have, or women in general, you know, to resort to like coat hanger type stuff,
unethical
like
methods.
yeah, like
Unsafe.
just unsafe methods, right?
Yeah.
I think ultimately it should be left to her choice, like completely, but there should be like constraints, like you can't do it after the third trimester.
Yeah, I definitely believe that.
You agree with that? So limit on the third trimester.
Yeah.
Like no partial birth type deal. It's like if it's viable outside of the womb, it's like there's no real, like I don't see it as a good reason to abort, even if it seems like you're just kind of doing it just to do it.
Okay. Well, let me ask you about that. The third trimester. It happens a lot. People say, you know, women's right to choose, and then we end up getting to the third trimester. People say, yeah, but not there. So what do you say to the person that says, isn't it inconsistent to say not there? What's your argument to say that it should be allowed in the third trimester, but not?
I think
It shouldn't be allowed in the third trimester, but it should be allowed early on. What would you say?
I think because I think you've had that much time to think about it, and it's an impulse decision if you're making it all of a sudden then, right there.
When, in the beginning, or?
Oh no, in your third trimester, if you're trying to decide to abort, like that kind of seems like an impulse decision more than anything else.
At the end?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I'm trying to follow you. So it's an impulse decision at the end. Okay, and so how do you feel about that?
I feel like it's almost malicious at that point because it can survive, like if you take it to term. At the beginning, it's more like it's unviable. It's like if you do not want a baby in general, it's like you have 2 terms to decide that you don't want to have the kid, and it's like I think it goes back more to like I don't see it as a person in general, or like it's obviously human, but I don't see it as human, so it's like more acceptable to me to abort it at that point. But if you let it grow to where it can theoretically, or it can in reality like live, if you take it out either through like cesarean section or something, then it just seems like malicious, like pointless. It's like, well, they can live. Why would you like wait and then terminate?
Okay, I appreciate that. Okay, but so it's interesting. as we're hearing students talking about abortion all over campus, we generally hear kind of the same things. And what's interesting, and I'd like to hear what you guys say about this, is that it seems to me that over the last decade especially, people who are a part of the abortion industry, people in academia, college students, will typically acknowledge today that what is in the womb from conception is obviously biologically human.
Right.
And you just said that, it's obviously human.
Yeah, like
from
what else
conception.
would it be?
It's human, right? If we went dug deep, we see that's a human being, has his own DNA. But what we say is what you just said, but I don't see it as human. Like, it's human, but I don't see it as really worthy of protection or anything like that. And so I find that interesting. How do you deal with that? How do we answer that conflict? That when someone says, say someone that's pro-life says, well, you grant that it's human, but you say that, but I'm not going to give it any protection until maybe it looks a little more like a human?
Until it could be physically separated from the mother and can still live, I would say.
Okay. How would you feel about that?
Yeah, I feel the same way. Like, if you can take it out of the mother and it can thrive, then yeah.
Okay.
But if you take it out of the mother, like...
And it dies,
Yeah.
like, just by being disconnected from the mother, it dies, like, then it's like, I don't really consider it to be a person in and of itself.
This gets to a really interesting question. I'd love to see what you guys say about this. So it seems as though that's very consistent, by the way, in terms of like what is normally said about this. And so when you take what you just said about the mother's sort of like the life support for the child, right?
Basically.
And you say, well, if it's dependent upon the mother for life support, then we ought to be able to kill it. That's
right, because
standard.
it's the mother's choice to either give it life support or not to give it life support.
So then that's consistent across the board with what everyone says. What do you say in that point? The standard is it's a human being, but if it's dependent upon someone or something else, we ought to be able to kill it. So let's say if a human being gets into a car accident and is dependent upon life support, or if a person gets a brain tumor or something and they're dependent upon life support, are we able to just kill them at will because they're dependent upon something or somebody else?
Well, don't we do the power of attorney at that time usually? Or someone who's in charge decides whether to pull the plug or not?
True. But I guess in terms of the standard, if there's a human being that's dependent upon somebody or something else, the standard ought to be we can kill them.
Well, it depends, because I would say it depends on whether that person has lived long enough. Like, I guess whether they initially became viable to begin with. Like, because that would, let's see, if you take like a child out of the womb at like the 3rd trimester, so it's viable, but you've removed it, but then it still needs life support to live, obviously, to get to like full term, then you would keep it on life support. You wouldn't just leave it there. It's kind of like it needs to be alive first in order to even qualify. Like, if it's never alive to begin with.
So like breathe?
That's the question I would ask is, scientifically, biologically, at conception it's alive, right? At conception there's life, DNA, it's biologically distinct.
Yeah, it's
Christians would say it's the image of God, it's life from conception. But what we're saying is when it gets out of the womb and we have to give it life support, say for example it's out of the womb now, right? Okay. But it still needs some help along the way.
Right.
It needs some help along the way. We attach it to some life support. It was on the life support of the mother. Now it's on this artificial life support over here. What would happen to somebody if they walked into that room and began to hack it into pieces? What should happen to them?
That would be murder. Yeah, because
why?
Because at that point, if you were
light bulb.
This is good. Now, so we're obviously Christians, and we're asking these questions because we think it'd be good to start having these dialogues together, right? Start saying, like, what do we really believe? Why do we believe this is okay in our culture? Because a long time ago, it wasn't the norm. Roe v. Wade changed a lot of things. And what's interesting to me, and you guys are college students, so you guys are committed to your own intellect and growing as people, and I respect that. What's interesting is that in 1973, when Roe v. Wade happened, the Supreme Court said, what's in the womb is potential human life. Now, at the time, Christians at the time would have said, no, it's image of God. It's worthy of value and dignity and love. But the Supreme Court said, no, it's potential human life. But now you guys know. You do biology classes and stuff, like science? Is that anywhere you're going?
I'm psychology.
Psychology, okay.
Economics.
Okay, so I know that if we went into one of these classrooms here that we're talking about biology, there's no question, no dispute, because of what we know about DNA and human genome, all those things, that at the moment of conception it has all the biological components of a human being.
Right, and
at
if you
conception.
let it carry on, then it would grow to full term to
Because
be a human.
it's not a cat,
to be
it's a
person,
human. Right. So that's interesting is that when Roe v. Wade happened, there was potential human life, but we know that that was a false premise. It was human life from conception. And as we move along the lines, you said something that was precious to me. I think it's amazing. You said, I believe that all humans deserve equal rights. I fundamentally agree. All humans deserve equal rights. But if we press that and we think about it together as a community, and we say, we're all going to bite down on that and accept it. All humans deserve equal rights. That would mean that we'd have to give that human being in the womb equal rights. And you said something even, I think, was even more powerful. You said women. All women deserve to be protected. But there's also 500,000 women in the womb every year.
I also believe, though, that if we did ban abortion, that there needs to be better alternatives for women to basically promote adoption. Then.
Yeah.
Because there are so many problems with the foster care system.
No, 100% agree.
So
yeah.
I think that's why a lot of abortion happens, is parents fear that if they don't want to have the kid, well, where's it going to go that's going to thrive technically?
Yeah.
You're going to send it to a foster home, it's not going to thrive.
It's a mess.
Yeah.
So let me tell you something that I've heard, and then tell me how you'd respond to it. So we've actually, we try to love and care for a lot of women that are considering abortion. We've seen over 70 babies saved, hundreds across the country. And one of the things we always offer women is we say to them when they're considering abortion or going in to have one, we say, we'll adopt your baby, we'll pay for everything. We'll pay for the medical, you will literally pay nothing, we'll take care of it. I'd like to hear what you say to this. They say to us, when we tell them we'll adopt your baby, as they're walking into the abortion clinic, they'll say, I can never give my baby up for adoption. And then they walk inside and they go through with the abortion. What do we
grow that attachment right away?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a natural attachment.
Isn't it amazing? It's like a weird conflict. Like it's I can never give my baby up for adoption, but then they go in and they actually
It's because there's a
kill
face to it. If there's no
Right.
face, then they can get rid of it.
Yeah.
So what you want to?
No, I was just wondering, you did say something earlier. You said that women have a right to what happens to their body.
Yeah.
Who gives them that right?
Well, technically the government gives them that right.
So if the government were to change and say women no longer have a right to their bodies, and we're going to actually legislate rape because it happens in the back alley. And it's kind of messy when it happens in the back alley. I mean, there's garbage and stuff like that. So we're going to legislate rape. We're going to take away the rights from women. And I know I use extreme examples, and I apologize for that. But we're going to have a rape center. And because women no longer have the rights, we're going to say they don't have the rights. And if we outlaw rape, you know how rapes have happened in the past. I mean, people rape there, they do it. Here we're going to legislate it. We might even, instead of people being raped with a knife and with a gun, we're going to actually give people drugs here so they can knock the woman out, and make it safer and make it cleaner. You would see how that would be a problem, right?
It'd be like an endorsement of rape.
Right.
It is an endorsement.
So you had said earlier that if we outlaw abortion, then it's going to go back to the back alleys.
Yeah.
So the question is not really, what will happen if it's outlawed. The question is, where do we get our rights, and who says whether it's right or wrong to kill a baby? Now, as Christians, we'll say that humans have a right by God, given to us by God. And therefore, I think that if you were to believe that stance, that we're given a God-given right for life, then you would actually join us in our view that killing the baby at any point would be wrong. So the issue is not really what we think about abortion. 'Cause, when I see people who are pro-abortion, I do not think that they're wicked people. I think that they have deceived themselves into giving the child a different classification because of their worldview. Because, one thing I say too is, except for the grace of God, I'm arguing just like people who tried to make exceptions for killing a baby. But as Christians, we say, no, God has given us rights. And we hope and we pray that people who are for abortion, not that they become against abortion, is that God saves them. that God saves them so that not only do they recognize the life of the right of the baby and the life of the baby, but their own. Because for somebody to take a stance and to say, well, that baby or that child does not deserve the right to live, that reflects on their rights, for their own body. Because if it can happen to a baby, it can happen to you too.
Yeah.
The government, and if it's the government that gives rights, they could change that tomorrow.
You think about this for a second, in terms of like how we should be thinking through the issue, like together. Because we're all in this together. We're living in the same community. It's all happening in centers around us. So there was a time not long ago where people used to look at a class of people. This wasn't long at all. People still alive from this. They used to say, I know it looks like a person. It's not a person, it's a Jew.
Right, yeah.
And they say we can kill him because it's not a person, it's a Jew, right? So like a government decided this is a class of human beings that doesn't deserve our love or protection, right? And so they were seen as animals and waste, and they were destroyed. And we would say the same thing is happening today, is that we all recognize that's a human being from conception, we grant it, but they're being killed. 3,000 a day are dying in our nation. A day. That's a 9/11 every single day. But what we tend to do in our culture is we tend to look at it and say, yeah, but it's not worthy of protection or my love or value. And what I admire about what you said to begin with was your obvious commitment to human beings, equal rights, women's rights. But I think that if we thought through those things more consistently, we would look at that, what's in the womb, and we'd say, that's a woman that deserves my protection. She's a little woman that deserves my protection. She's a human that deserves my protection and my love. And I think we would join together in saying there are better ways to address the problem.
Oh yeah, I definitely think there are better ways, but where we are now, and I think where our society is and how basically just putting a baby and putting up for adoption or putting an orphan or foster, it's just not, I think the mother, it's just not a safe place for her to think the baby's going. I think that's, and then also the problem with the separation from the baby after you have. I mean, obviously there are a lot of problems after an abortion. You have definitely a lot of mental problems. And I wouldn't say I personally would not choose abortion as like your priority or like something you just do automatically.
Go-to.
Yeah, like your go-to basically. I think it should be used in like the most extreme cases.
What? Can I ask you to think about something? You don't have to respond. But just think about something for a moment. Because I hear that a lot. If we set that as a standard, we say life's going to be hard and it'll be emotionally difficult or financially difficult for a mother. I hear that a lot, and that impresses me because I'm actually a pastor. And I care for people all the time and take care of their needs, and I see hurting people every single day. Today I have to go to the hospital to take care. So I feel the weight of that emotional appeal. I do. I very seriously do. But think about this for a second. If we say the standard is if it's financially difficult or emotionally difficult to have a child, then we can kill them. What does that say to most every family in America that might be having financial difficulties or emotional difficulties in raising children? Are hard. They're actually really hard.
I mean,
and if we set that as a standard, we would say, well, we can kill all children. And
what I'm hearing from a lot of young adults in my generation is a lot of people don't want to have kids.
Right.
Yeah. That's what it's been. It's a very popular idea now.
Sure it is. Yeah. I have 4 kids, and when I drive places, especially in Arizona, when I drive places to get out, people looking at me like I'm Mormon or something. They're like, obviously Mormon. Because having more than even 1 kid today, 2 kids is like, wow, you have a huge family. But yeah, we just wanted you to consider that and think through that with us as a community. Those arguments, do they really work?